welcome back, plus a warm welcome to our friend who always brings the fun. Jamie Johansson from the Tailgate joins us now. And of course, she brought a special guest who you met a little earlier in the show on the video. Hannah, welcome.
Hi.
The bee ladies.
The bee ladies.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
So September is National Honey Month. So what better time to talk bees and honey? And I just don't know much about them other than I love honey. So I called Hannah up and I said, will you come in and be our resident bee expert? So she's going to talk about how bees make honey.
Yes. All right. So bees, as you know, go from flower to flower. And as they do that, they suck up the nectar and they put it in what they have a honey sac. It's down in their stomach. Yes. And so when they're ready to bring it back to the hive, they'll bring it back to their hive and they will regurgitate it into another bee's mouth. And
Really?
Okay, that's, all right. Yeah, you regurgitate. Use that into another bee's mouth.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're not necessarily eating honey puke, or you're not bee puke, but
That's kind of what it is.
it's a honey sac, so it's away from all the other stuff. But yes, they will repeat that process until it's broken down, and they will put that into the wax cell, and then whenever all the moisture content is out, they will cap it over, and that's when you, as a beekeeper, know it's time to extract some honey.
And that capping is wax?
Yes, the capping is wax.
Wow.
Get the beeswax.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
sometimes you'll see it lighter, sometimes darker. The darker it is, it just means the older it is because they've walked all over it and they've gotten it dirty.
Aged honey.
It's aged.
Okay, so as the beekeeper, when you see this, what do you do then?
Like
Time for extraction?
time for extracting,
Okay.
yes.
And there's no bees in here, don't worry. This is our
no.
teaching hive.
teaching
I
hive,
would know
yes.
it by now.
Thank you for that.
And this is what it looks like, correct?
Yes, that's the capping over the honey. And us as beekeepers, when there's excess honey, you will take that and you'll cut that thin layer of wax off. And then you will put it into an extractor, just like this.
Okay.
And there's a lot of different ways to extract, but this is the one I have, and a lot of people have it.
And it's manually.
Manually, you just hand crank this one.
Turn and you turn and you
And
turn.
then honey will sling out on the sides, and then you have several filters it goes
Okay.
through. And that's how you get your honey.
You're gathering it with centripetal force to kind of fling it
Fling it
out
around,
along the
yes.
walls or something.
Yes.
And so here's a jar of honey. How long would a turning taken to get this much?
I'd say about 30 minutes.
It's a long time. A lot
Yeah.
of manual
I
labor.
never knew there was so much that went into that.
Either did I, because I mean, I think what people think is, okay, the bees make honey, you take it out, it's dripping with honey, you just kind of let it drip into a barrel, and then you're done.
There you go.
Yep,
That's
yeah.
what Winnie the
lot
Pooh does,
more.
right?
Yeah.
That's one way to do it. You can strain it like that, but this is one easier way to do it.
It's
Yeah.
easier, but still a lot of work.
Yeah, it is.
Sure.
It is.
More efficient.
One thing I learned that you shared with me earlier is honey can last forever.
Yes,
so what happens when it
antibacterial.
crystallizes?
So you just get a pot of warm water, and you can set your jar just down in there and let it heat up, and then you're good to go.
You're still good to go, so it's not like it's gone bad.
No, it hasn't gone bad.
So if
not
your
at
honey at
all.
home is crystallized like this, just heat it up.
Now, there's another thing that people talk about all the time, and I'm just kind of throwing this out. If you don't know, that's fine, but
I'm sure he does.
people say that honey from a certain area can help as far as allergies and things in a certain
Yes,
area.
there's little particles of pollen that go into the honey, so it just kind of helps you get used to that and helps you build up the immunity to the allergies.
And so honey's important, but guess what's even more important to me is honey as pollinators in agriculture.
Oh, yeah.
So
Huge.
honey's, talk about the role bees play in pollinating the food that we eat.
Yeah, so without bees, then we would only have 4 years left to live. That was a quote by Albert Einstein. They pollinate up to 85% of the food that we eat today.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is Hannah, she's not raising bees to raise honey. She's raising bees to sell her bees commercially.
The commercial bee, okay, right.
Yes. Sell to other beekeepers so they get bees that are used to this environment.
So when we hear about things, you know, we've heard in years past about bees dying out.
Sure.
That really should be a concern
We should all
for all of us.
be taking care of our
Yes.
bees. And one thing that's really fascinating is bees raised here, potentially in Missouri, can be loaded up and they can go to the boot hill to pollinate, you know, a melon crop. They can be trucked off, like you said before, to California to help pollinate an almond grove.
There's so much that I
Amazing.
learned in just a few minutes, and I think that's
Yes.
so interesting in your story that you really weren't all that interested in this to begin with
No,
until
I
your mom
really
signed you
wasn't.
up.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, I love this.
Yeah, you're on TV talking about
Yes.
it.
I know, and we love it.
my
and you
thing.
love it. So, Hannah, thank you so much. And
Thanks for
Jamie, when
being
do we
here.
see the next From the Tailgate?
Every Sunday night at 6 and 9:30. And this week we're going to be talking about beef cattle reproduction and how a company is helping plan your herd. And then we're going to talk about the Missouri State Fair Foundation and what they're doing to preserve and give back to youth.
Very
Very
interesting
nice.
stuff.
I like that. This was great.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing
No
this.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.